Strike me down, Vader, and I shall become more powerful than you could ever imagine. Obi-Wan, when I left you, I was but the apprentice. Now I am the master. Hello, my noble band of outlaws. Outlaw Samurai coming at you live with a video. So, if you couldn't tell from the absolutely wretched kind of impersonation of Obi-Wan and Vader's final meeting, we're doing another lightsaber video. More specifically, taking lightsabers and meshing them with medieval European Renaissance era swords. And you're probably wondering, Outlaw, what about taking lightsabers and meshing them with katana? Well, that's really because George Lucas, when he made Jedi and lightsabers, was mainly influenced by the Japanese katana. So that's a separate video of its own. And you're probably wondering why I'm using the Kenpachi Zaraki Zanpakuto wall hanger, and it's because of two reasons. One, it's blunt, so that I can actually demonstrate shit with two blunt swords, because if any of you have missed the video where I explained that I blunted this for training. And the second reason is it's the only thing that mimics a lightsaber in terms of the hilt, in terms of the grip being round and overall shape that I have available. Now, generally speaking, with lightsabers, all the weight is down here in the hilt, so there's not really a lot of weight in the blade. Depending on the canon that you believe, whether you believe the completely bullshit Disney, whatever, horrible, poor excuse for actual Star Wars, horrible rendition, or the good George Lucas, you can easily tell which one I consider to be canon. But in any case, lightsabers as a whole have this general shape. They have the hilt that has pretty much all the weight, and then a near weightless to sometimes very minimal weighted blade. Now, in the real world, we have to deal with physics. And a sword like this would pretty much handle like what I would expect a lightsaber to handle like. Because this has a very light blade because of its wall hanger status, and a relatively good sized hilt for demonstrational purposes. Now, with that in mind, how would we take a lightsaber and mesh it with a European blade? Well, quite simply put, what I would do, personally, if I was going to combine European style aesthetics with a lightsaber, is actually take and slim down the guard. Not the guard, the grip. Basically, what I would do is, instead of having a round cylindrical grip, I would basically, as the upper half of this grip has, a ovoid rectangular style grip. I would basically make the grip rectangular. Now, you're probably wondering, Outlaw, why would you make the grip rectangular and not keep the circular grip? Because of the fact that a lightsaber doesn't really have an edge. It's literally a beam of light, it's literally a beam of plasma energy or laser energy, whichever you want to say it is. Personally speaking, my head at least with me, I think that a lightsaber blade is made out of plasma that is locked in a magnetic field. I don't know what the canon explanation of a lightsaber blade is off the top of my head, because of all the shit Disney's pulled over the years. The only good shit Star Wars wise that Disney's made is Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan, okay? The shows are good, the movies are dog fuck. But in any case, how would I merge real world swords with a lightsaber, well, I would make the grip rectangular simply because a rectangular grip gives you better control over the blade. Alright? Even if a lightsaber doesn't need edge alignment to cut something, alright, it is still harder to hold a perfectly circular object in comparison to a rectangular or ovoid object. Why do you think that most hammers and tools have ovoid grips? That's so that you can not only index where the striking surface is, but also to control the weapon better. So I would basically turn the grip into a rectangle. And this would actually allow you to make the grip a little wider and a little narrower and still have all the components necessary. Especially when I get to explaining how I would do my hilt construction. Because the crossguard wouldn't be the same. It'd actually be a little bit bigger. The second thing I would do is I would add a solid pommel to the end. Now I know a lot of lightsabers, they have pommels, like Obi-Wan's for example. But I'm talking a pommel that I could actually bash a droid's head in with. If I had to get really up close and personal, or a pommel that I could really bash somebody in the head with. Basically a strong, sturdy pommel. Now, as I mentioned the crossguard before, this is where it would get a little bit bigger than traditional crossguards, but hear me out. I would actually make this crossguard about 3 times the size it is now. The reason being is that I would have all of my electrical components within the grip area of the lightsaber itself. And I would have the kyber crystal near the guard so that it can project out the blade. Now, because of this, the guard would actually need to be the most reinforced part of this lightsaber. Being that I would actually, and in truth, if I had access to it, I would make the entire hilt out of one of 2 materials. One, I would make the entire hilt of my lightsaber out of either Mandalorian steel or Beskar, the 2 most powerful materials in the Star Wars universe, the strongest metals that I know of. If there's a new stronger metal that I'm not aware of, put it in the comments if you would. But that's what I would do. I would make these quillons bigger, a little longer, and maybe maybe if I wanted for more aesthetics, bend one down and bend the other up as kind of forming a knuckle guard. I'm going to be doing some more lightsaber videos because I've gotten into a lot of Star Wars I've gotten really back into Star Wars as of late. But here's the other part. I'd also make this section bigger as well. And unlike with other lightsabers, I would actually have a portion sticking above the crossguard. So from my fingers back to the crossguard would be more metal, more Beskar, if you would. And this is so that I can utilize the thumb grip or over the crossguard grips like this one if I wanted to facilitate better thrusting, or if I wanted to didn't mean to do that, but if I wanted to perform like false edge cuts with the lightsaber. By having a section that you specifically so you could put your thumb above the guard, like I said in my last video, you were comparing lightsaber forms to sword forms. You'd get the added benefits of being able to perform these complex maneuvers and still even expand the number of lightsaber forms there are. Now, here's another thing that I would actually change. And this is subjective to me, but I would actually change the way my lightsaber blade came out. What I mean by this is that I would actually take the lightsaber blade and fiddle around with the settings until instead of a tube-like blade with a point coming out, I actually would have a regular shaped sword blade come out. And here's the reason why. We see with, and Shadiversary recently did a video. This is another thing that he talked about, is that if you have a lightsaber that actually has a sword-shaped blade, it would increase its cutting ability. And by meaning that less material has to be melted or burned or whatever have you away from the target to perform the same cut. Now, he did mention that it would kind of make blaster fire a little harder to deflect, but he also said that if you could make the lightsaber blade come out wider, like almost imagine if any of you have ever seen like Conan the Barbarian, imagine the Atlantean sword blade as a lightsaber, basically. How wide it would be. And the reason I would make these changes to my own personal lightsaber would be because of the fact that I know real-world swordsmanship and that I can see the flaws in the original lightsaber design. The biggest flaw being that there's not really any kind of hand protection. There's been a lot of times where I've seen in Star Wars dueling scenes that if they weren't using lightsaber forms but using more real-world sword forms, the Jedi would be a lot more dangerous than what they're portrayed. And I know the whole Jedi not killing thing, Jedi don't want to master the weapon and basically being like monks and all that. I get it, but there's basically two classifications of Jedi. The green Jedis that are the scholars and all that, like Qui-Gon, Yoda. That's all well and good. But then there's the ones with the blue lightsabers, those being like Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ezra Bridgers, Kanan Jarvis. Alright? Those are Guardian Jedis. Those are the ones that are supposed to be skilled, highly skilled combatants. Not to say that all Jedi aren't skilled or highly trained combatants, but the blue Jedi tend to be even more skilled because they are the Guardians. They are the warrior branch of the Jedi Order. Alright? That's an actual canon explanation. Now, there's one other thing, backtracking a little bit, that I would add to the crossguard, and that is actually rings. Remember, this whole hilt is made out of Veskar, lightsaber-proof material. So I would definitely add rings to the hilt. This would provide even more protection for the hands. Maybe even if I was to... I'm going to be doing lightsaber... I'm going to basically be making videos taking the lightsaber and how I would merge them with different swords in my collection. This being the first one. So, like I said, I would add rings to the lightsaber, to the crossguard, so that if a lightsaber blade slides down, and yeah, generally speaking, lightsaber blades, once they lock, they don't really slide a whole lot. They do, but it's canon that when two Force wielders are actually binding their lightsaber like that, it's actually temporarily stuck where they're using the Force to influence the other. It's not just for dialogue. There's an actual reason behind it, which I kind of like. It doesn't just make them do the stupid, like, oh, you killed my father, oh, you killed my second cousin once removed, and all that other Hollywood sword dueling bullshit. But because I would have rings on here, I would basically be able to protect not only the back of my hand, but also my fingers to an extent. And I can get away with making this very big, massive hilt because there's no weight in the blade. I would literally just be swinging the hilt around. Or if there's weight in the blade, it would be extremely minuscule. That's the thing about a lightsaber. You can get away with having the most outrageously big lightsaber that you could possibly make because of the fact that all the weight is in the grip. Also, I would elongate this grip to about 14 to 15 inches to really fit my preference of sword size, because this grip is nice and all, but it's too short for me. It works with this size longsword. Oddly enough, I don't really have a problem with this kind of grip, mainly because I can wrap my finger around the fishtail pommel. But generally speaking, I do like longer grips. Right? They give you more leverage. I find with me it gives me more control over the blade, much like the Warrior O. But that would basically be how I would take the classic lightsaber, and if I was going to merge it with a longsword, is how I would do it. Solid Beskar, everything. Alright? Solid Beskar pommel, solid Beskar grip, solid Beskar crossguard with rings. Alright? Sword blade like lightsaber blade. With a solid Beskar, I guess you could call it a ricasso. With a solid Beskar ricasso reaching about 4 inches up. And then from the rest of that would be like blade length. And also longer. And I would also keep this fishtail pommel because I really like the fishtail pommel design, not so much this fluting in the middle, which is the groove here. Just the shape itself, where I can wrap my pinky around it, wrap my fingers around it, and it just feels so nice in my hand, even if I just had to go like this. That's why I'm not really keen on the pommel on the hand and a half sword, because of the fact that it's a circular pommel, and I really like fishtail pommels. I really like these flatter pommels that really allow me to choke down on them. But let me know in the comments down below which you would prefer. Classic lightsaber shape or what I just described. And of course I will be trying, of course I will also, once everything's said and done, I will also be drawing. Like an actual drawing of the kind of lightsaber that I'm talking about. To give you a better idea. So, until next time, my noble band of outlaws, Outlaw Samurai tells all y'all, be crazy rednecks, be safe in using your weapons. I'm out. Peace.